What once kept our ancestors alive is now just a lousy justification for bad choices with a straight face. Psychologists have long studied the patterns of irrationality in human cognition, revealing a substantial body of knowledge about what are commonly known as mental traps or cognitive biases in academic terms. These bizarre quirks of human thinking are a systematic error that arises when people process and interpret information from the world around them, leading to flawed decisions and judgments. It's widely believed that these cognitive biases have deep evolutionary roots. They are thought to be byproducts of mental shortcuts or heuristics that evolved to help our ancestors make quick, efficient decisions, often in environments where rapid responses could mean the difference between life and death. Confirmation bias. We have a knack for embracing information that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs and desires while conveniently dismissing anything that challenges or contradicts them. This tendency can deepen conflicts, especially when engaging with those who hold different beliefs or values. It's why we eagerly devour articles claiming that coffee and bacon are actually good for our health, while casually ignoring any research that suggests otherwise. After all, who wants to hear that their favorite breakfast staples might not be the best health boosters they've been hoping for? Consensus bias. We often mistakenly believe that others share our thoughts, values, and preferences. This can lead us to assume that what we enjoy is universally adored as well. For instance, those who love loud music might crank up the volume, assuming everyone else is jamming along. This assumption ignores the reality that personal tastes vary widely. And conflict arises when we realize, sometimes too late, that not everyone shares our enthusiasm or our decibel tolerance. This bias can strain relationships and create misunderstandings, especially in situations where we assume too much common ground. Framing. The way a question is presented can heavily influence our thoughts and responses. It's all about how you package it. For instance, asking a priest if you can smoke while you pray might get you a stern lecture, but flip it around and ask if you can pray while you smoke, and suddenly you're just a devout smoker. The right framing might save you from eternal damnation, or at least a guilt trip. Naive realism. We're all convinced that the way we see the world is the way it truly is, and anyone who disagrees must be hopelessly naive. Each of us views life through the distorted lens of our experience and culture, yet we're certain that our perspective is reality itself, as if our version of reality is the only valid one, and theirs is just a pleasant daydream. It's like everyone is staring in their own Truman Show, blissfully unaware that there's more than one script. Selective perception. Once you've put on your reality distortion goggles, good luck seeing anything but what you expected. Whenever we encounter a new situation, we must interpret a universe of unfamiliar, often conflicting data that is more than we can process, so we instinctively form a hypothesis, quickly deciding what's really going on. And then we start filtering everything through our convenient lens. Anything that doesn't fit gets tossed aside, reinforcing our belief that our first impression was spot on. For example, if you walk into a negotiation already convinced that the lawyer across the table is a conniving jerk, every glance will seem like a suspicious glare. Self-serving bias. We're experts at being our own biggest cheerleaders when it comes to justifying our actions, while we're quick to label similar behavior in others as a flaw. We know that we are personally responsible for our success, but our failures are the result of bad luck or circumstances beyond our control. Our own blunders are just harmless mistakes, but when someone else messes up, it's clearly a sign of their deceitful nature. Overconfidence bias. This cognitive glitch leads us to vastly overestimate our own abilities and qualities. Most of us fancy ourselves as smarter, more honest, or destined for greater success than the average person. A delusion supported by the fact that 93% of American drivers claim to be better than average, a statistical impossibility. It reinforces other decision-making biases, such as hindsight bias, optimism bias, and action bias, leaving us to confidently march through life, blissfully unaware of just how spectacularly we're failing. Personalization. It's only human to crave respect and validation from our social circles. After all, we're wired to seek approval from our fellow tribe members, so it's no surprise that criticism can cut deep and leave us feeling bruised. Criticism hurt everybody. It's just universal. If you find yourself frequently wounded or convinced that others are out to get you emotionally. You might be taking things a bit too personally. Maybe someone meant to give you an instructive feedback. Besides, most comments are reflections of others' perspectives and not necessarily accurate judgments of your worth. Awareness of mental traps is key, but it's not a magic wand. Even when we're aware, overconfidence can still sneak in and biases can reinforce themselves. Many of these biases are the result of our brain's quick-fix shortcuts. The trick is to hit pause and slow down. By taking the time to think things through, we can outsmart our biases and make better decisions. We may not be able to avoid every pitfall, but we can manage to avoid a few.